tell you to turn the dang thing off. But what you can do is if you aim your smartphone with the Q Code app, you'll see a huge blog that has been created by our director, Kevin Maroney. It's really very interesting. He's gathered a lot of information about our actors, about our singers and musicians, and about our panelists. So go ahead and do that if that's good for you. If not, you got the list right here and you'll be fine. So let me tell you a little bit about the way tonight will play. The show is short. It's only 36 minutes long, but I will tell you it is jam-packed. This is a very powerful play. I would be surprised if you don't have a reaction to this play. So just know that going in. There will be an intermission, about 15-minute intermission, where we will offer you free tea and coffee so that you can have a little bit of a rest after that experience. And then I'll come back and introduce the panelists, and we'll have our great discussion for about 45 minutes. So the whole night will be about 2 hours long. So without further ado, I want to thank you again for being here. I also want to thank the Veterans Education Project, who is our recent sponsor and partner, and we're so grateful for them for being partners in this production. I also want to thank Lee Hines for allowing us to use this exquisitely beautiful space. Can you imagine a more beautiful space to have this kind of event? Just a magical place. It's a Juster Pope building. It's really beautiful. The acoustics, I mean, I know that I'm mic'd, but I can feel the acoustics are really, really great in here. So please have a great time, and well, great time isn't really the right word. Have a meaningful time. Is that better? Have a meaningful time, okay? And I'd like to introduce you to the way we're going to set the mood and get us all started with Vicki Phillips and Michael Rowe, and they're going to entertain you with songs of the time just as we enter into the show. So thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate all of you coming out tonight. Thank you.
Oh, it's a lovely war. Who wouldn't be a soldier, eh? Oh, it's a shame to take the pay. As soon as Reveille is gone, we feel just as heavy as lead, but we never get up till the sergeant brings our breakfast up to bed. Oh, it's a lovely war. What do we want with eggs and ham when we've got plum and apple jam? Form 4's right turn. How shall we spend the money we earn? Oh, it's a lovely war.
We've watched you playing cricket and every kind of way. A football, golf, and polo, you men have made your name. But now your company needs you to play your part in war. And no matter how to see you, we shall want you even more. For we don't want to lose you, but we think you have to go. For your king and your country both need you so. We shall want you and miss you, but with all our might and main, we shall cheer you, thank you, kiss you, till you come back again.
Goodbye, wipe the tear, baby dear, from your eye. Though it's hard to part, I know I'll be tickled to death to go. Don't cry, don't sigh, there's a silver lining in the sky. Bonsoir, old thing, cheerio, chin chin, napu, toodaloo, goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Wipe the tear, baby dear, from your eye. Though it's hard to part, I know I'll be, tickled to death to go. Don't cry,
We shall want and
don't
miss
sigh.
you, but with
There's
all
a silver lining in the sky. Bonsoir, old thing.
Cheerio,
Chin chin na poo.
toodaloo,
Goodbye. Bonsoir, old thing. Cheerio, chin chin na poo.
toodaloo,
Goodbye.
la 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 la
La la la la la la la la. La 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 la. Oh,
Oh,
oh, it's a lovely war. Who wouldn't be a soldier, eh? Oh, it's a shame to take the pay. As soon as Reveille has gone, we feel just as heavy as lead. But we never get up till the sergeant brings our breakfast up to bed. Oh, 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 it's a lovely war. What do we want with eggs and ham when we've got plum and apple jam? Form 4's right turn. How shall we spend the money we earn? Oh, 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 it's a lovely war.
sons of the thief, sons of the saint, who is the child with no complaint? Sons of the great or sons unknown, all were children like your own. The same sweet smiles, the same sad tears, the cries at night, the nightmare fears. Sons of the great or sons unknown, all were children like your own, so long ago, long, long ago. But sons of tycoons or sons of the farms, all of the children ran from your arms, through fields of gold, through fields of ruin. All of the children vanished too soon, in towering waves, in walls of flesh, among dying birds, trembling with death. Sons of tycoons or sons of the farms, all of the children ran from your arms, so long ago, long, long ago. Sons of your sons or sons passing by, children we lost in lullabies, sons of true love or sons of regret. All of your sons you cannot forget. Some built the roads, some wrote the poems, some went to war, some never came home. Sons of your sons or sons passing by, children we lost in lullaby, so long ago, long, long ago. Sons of the thief and sons of the saint, who is the child with no complaint? Sons of the great or sons unknown, all were children like your own. The same sweet smiles, the same sad tears, the cries at night, the nightmare fears. Sons of your sons or sons passing by, all were children like your own, like your own, like your own.
Mommy, Mommy, come and look and see what I have found. A little way away from here while singing in the ground.
Come away now, Michael. Come in and close the door. That's nothing but a picture book we had before the war.
Mommy, Mommy, come and see. Oh, Mommy, come and look. There's 4 or 5 Michael boys inside this picture book.
Come away, dear Michael. Come in and close the door. There were many little Michael boys before we had the war.
Mommy, Mommy, come and see. Oh, Mommy, hurry do. Here's someone grown up very tall who doesn't look like you.
Come away, my Michael. Come in and close the door. That someone was your father, like we had before the war.
Mommy, Mommy, come and see. Such things I've never seen. There's happy faces all around, and all the ground is green.
Come away, dear Michael. Come in and close the door. That's just the way it used to be before we had the war.
Mommy, Mommy, come and see, and tell me if you can. Why can't it be the way it was before the world began?
Come away, my Michael. Come in and close the door. The answer lies in yesterday, before we had the war. No, there's another one here.
So what we will do now is we will segue into the show, and I'm going to invite the actors to come on down. So Jazz, can you give them a little hello? That'd be great. And you'll see everybody. So let's say thank you.
Good evening. My name's Kevin Maroney. I'm the director of this show, and I want to thank you again for all being here. One of my main goals tonight is that you all learn something, and to that end, I'd like to share some background about the author of the novel on which tonight's play is based. Since I've only got a few minutes, I encourage you all to look the man up in his work as your homework assignment. I can only offer the Cliff Notes at this time. You're about to meet Joe Bonham, who grew up in Colorado, moved to LA, and worked in a bakery until he was drafted to serve in World War I. Joe is a character created by Dalton Trumbo, who grew up in Colorado, moved to Los Angeles, and worked in a bakery until he started his writing career. Trumbo was born in 1905, too young to serve in the war, but old enough to be swept up in the patriotic fervor represented in the lyrics of George M. Cohan's iconic song, Over There. During the 1930s, he crafted a successful career in writing, while unemployment exceeded 25%. The Spanish Civil War and the rise of fascism in Europe turned out to be the overture to World War II, and Trumbo seemed to hear the orchestra warming up. He spent much of 1938 writing Johnny Got His Gun, exhorting his readers to consider the full costs of another world war. The novel shipped to bookstores in September 1939, as Nazi tanks were rolling into Poland. Because of the anti-war, pro-peace sentiments expressed in his novel, Trumbo received several letters in the early 1940s from people assuming they had found an ally, people who thought U.S. involvement in the war was a Jewish conspiracy, and people asking him to join a push for a negotiated peace with Germany. He reported this communication to the FBI and was visited in his home by federal agents. He was uneasy after that visit, since the agent seemed to be more interested in him than his correspondence, so he wrote a letter.
I was perhaps somewhat startled to discover that your interest in me was greater than your interest in the small evidence I had to offer. Considering the nature of the Nazi enemy, and your concern about my attitude toward the war, and the deep aversion we both feel toward all who would impede the successful prosecution of the war, I might have been tempted to ask even more questions had I been in your place. For example, are you sympathetic to the Christian Front, the Ku Klux Klan, the German-American Bund, America First, Gerald Smith, Winrod, Coughlin? Are you anti-Semitic, anti-Catholic, anti-Negro? Are you opposed to the Moscow Agreement, the Tehran Conference? Did you agree with Charles A. Lindbergh that the British, the Jews, and the Roosevelt administration were pushing this country into war? Did you approve of the Chicago Tribune when it stole from the War Department and actually published secret plans for the defense of the United States? To all of them, my answer would have been no. I take your failure to ask them as a compliment to me, which you will withhold from the people whose correspondence I enclose.
Trumbo was wise to be uneasy. Much more difficult times lied ahead. In 1947, he was one of the original Hollywood 10, writers and producers brought before the House Un-American Activities Committee to explain their ties to the Communist Party. As an uncooperative witness, Trumbo was convicted of contempt and served 11 months in federal prison. After his release, he found himself on the blacklist, unable to work in the film industry. He submitted scripts through intermediaries and under assumed names. He actually won 2 Academy Awards under assumed names, so no one showed up to collect the Oscars. In 1960, Otto Preminger hired him to write Exodus and insisted that the studio allow him to write under his real name. The blacklist was finally over. In 1970, Trumbo received a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Writers Guild, and in his acceptance speech made it clear what an ugly time it was.
I presume that over half of our members have no memory of the blacklist because they were children when it began or not yet born. To them, I would only say this, that the blacklist was a time of evil, and that no one on either side who survived it came through untouched by evil. Caught in a situation that had passed beyond the control of mere individuals, each person reacted as his nature, his needs, his convictions, and his particular circumstances compelled him to. There was bad faith and good, honesty and dishonesty, courage and cowardice, selflessness and opportunism, wisdom and stupidity, good and bad on both sides, and almost every individual involved, no matter where he stood, combined some or all of these antithetical qualities in his own person, in his own acts. When you who are in your 40s or younger look back with curiosity on that dark time, as I think occasionally you should, it will do no good to search for villains or heroes, or saints or devils, because there were none. There were only victims. Some suffered less than others, some grew and some diminished, but in the final tally, we were all victims because almost without exception, each of us felt compelled to say things he did not want to say, to do things that he did not want to do, to deliver and receive wounds he truly did not want to exchange. That is why none of us, right, left, or center, emerged from that long nightmare without sin.
Also in 1970, Trumbo wrote an addendum to the introduction to Johnny Got His Gun. I highly recommend that you read it. He was clearly frustrated at the continuing level of armed conflict, decades after the war to end all wars, decades after he tried to encourage his fellow citizens to stop and think about the costs, the human costs. The Vietnam conflict was raging on, and he clearly felt his work was failing. He sure seemed bitter and frustrated. He closes that new introduction with this line: "So long, losers. God bless. Take care. We'll be seeing you." That was 43 years ago. Our purpose tonight is to encourage listening, thinking, collaboration, and communication. We do it by telling a story and by facilitating a conversation. I thank you again for being here and for your participation in this collaboration. You're about to enjoy the talents of our brilliant cast: James Emery, A.J. Maroney, Emma Jimerson, Joan Holiday, and Nico Lawson. We present to you, Johnny Got His Gun.
We tell you of Joe Bonham. 22 years ago, he went to war. They carried him back from that war. They carried him back because he had no arms, no legs, no ears with which to hear, no eyes with which to see, no mouth with which to speak. Today, he lies alone in a room, in a hospital close to your city. He's living flesh, and he waits. Your world is shut off from Joe Bonham. He has only the world within his own mind. We tell you of Joe Bonham. These are the thoughts of a boy who 22 years ago went to war.
Somebody listen to me. I'm talking to you. Somebody listen to me. Gotta talk to somebody. It's dark. Lonely. Somebody? No. Going out of my head again. How can you hear when I ain't got a tongue, ain't got a mouth, ain't got a... No, I won't think of that anymore. Gotta think of something else, yeah. Oh, something else. If I don't think, my head... yeah, quick, think about... when I was a kid.
Hey, Joe, come on in swimming.
Yeah, swimming. When I was a kid, I went swimming. Dive in the river, feel the water against my legs and my arms. Now I haven't got any... No, I won't think of that. I think about... my town.
It's the nicest little old place on earth, Shale City.
I gotta remember.
Hamburger, get your hot hamburger. Get your hot hamburger.
Yeah, best hamburgers in the world.
All right, boy, here's 30 cents. Go down and get 3 hamburgers.
Ha!
Oh, they're delicious. If I could only cook like this.
Mashi! No. No, don't think of her. Think about county fair.
See the lady cut in half, the fourth part of a dollar.
Motorcycle rider defying death inside a straight up and down circular wall.
I can't remember. I gotta remember. If I don't remember things, I'll think, and if I think, no. I gotta remember something. Something. Girls. Think about girls. Quick, think about girls.
Joe?
Corinne?
Joe, I'm scared. I'm so scared.
No.
Kiss me. Hold me.
No, wait, we should have turned the lights out. Your old man will be sore.
He understands.
Oh, your lips.
Don't go. They'll kill you.
I gotta go. When you're drafted, you gotta.
Oh, Joe, I don't want you to go. Hold me. Tight. Maybe we'll never get another chance now, Joe. In your arms, Joe, in your arms.
My arms! My arms!
All aboard! All aboard!
Joe, hold me. Don't go, Joe!
Johnny, get your gun, get your gun, get your gun.
Joe, I'm part of you now. Don't go.
As that great patriot Theodore Roosevelt said.
Over there, over there.
All aboard, soldier! All aboard, soldier!
No! Hold me, Joe. Hold me. Hold your arms tight around me.
For the Yanks are coming, the Yanks are coming, the Yanks are coming.
Hold your arms tight around me. Hold your arms tight around me. Hold your
arms. No, stop! My arms. I haven't got any arms! You hear me, Corinne? I haven't got any arms. Haven't got any arms. What's the matter with me? I didn't find it out yesterday. Or the day before. It was
1939, 1938, 1937, 1936.
a long time ago.
1935.
Joe?
Corinne? Still in my head? I'll tell you as if you were here. Here's how I found out everything about myself. I woke up, like out of a dream. It was like I was in the water. I tried to swim, but I didn't have any arms. I started to kick my legs to float up in the air out of bed, but I couldn't kick. I didn't have any. I threw my head back. I started to yell. I only started. How can you yell when you haven't got... I began to reach out, Corinne, the only way I could reach out. With the nerves of my skin. The hole in my face. I could feel the skin creeping around the edge of it. It went... I was blind! Oh, what a lousy dream. Oh, nobody could live like that. It's just dreaming, that's all. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't a dream. Mother? Mother, where are you? Hurry! Mother, hurry and wake me up! I'm having a nightmare. Mother, where are you? Mother, listen to me. I can't stand it. Mother, please tell me it's not me. It's not me. No, not me. Please, not me. That's the way I found out. A long time ago. Who was I telling that to?
Joe?
Oh, Corinne. Still in my head. In my heart. Now I'll tell you about how I found out about time. About the days. Knowing about the days you're living through, that's important to see. But all I remembered was dive in the dugout. And that was all. A day in September 1918, and that's all. Time stopped then. Start time over again. But how could I catch hold of time when I was caught inside myself? vibrations. I had it. When the nurse came into the room, the vibrations of her footsteps running up through the floor, through the bread, through the springs of the bed, into me. Now, all I had to do was count the seconds, then the minutes, then the hours between each visit she made until I had 24 hours counted up in my head, and after that, I'd be able to figure out the days out just by counting up her visits. One day, the minute the nurse left me, I began to count.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Second
5,
by second,
6,
second
7,
by second.
8.
Now, when I counted to
9,
60, that meant a minute, as
10,
nearly as I was able to
11,
figure, but
12.
I always lost count.
14.
I think it's something else, and then I'd lose count again.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Day
7,
after day, but I could never keep track.
9, 10,
I couldn't.
11.
I couldn't. And all the time, the days were running away from me. And then, one day, it happened. The skin on the side of my neck, the half of the forehead above the mask, lying there all the years gone by, I got to thinking that maybe there was something, some way I could use those pieces of skin free to the air. They were healthy. I got to thinking what a man did with his skin.
To feel with.
But that didn't seem enough.
To sweat with.
Yeah, sweat with, hot and cold.
Sunrise and sunset.
Just like that. The idea came into my head just like that. Now, all I had to do was to feel with my skin. When it changed from cool to warm on that little piece of skin, it'd be sunrise. And the beginning of a day. I got to thinking about the nurse and how many visits she made me each day, and when she made them, I better start with the nurse. She changes the bedding. In a hospital, they must change the bedding in the morning, maybe around 8 o'clock. So all I gotta do is wait till she changes the bedclothes. That'll mean it's morning. Then wait maybe 18, 20 hours, and that'll be the next morning. That'll be sunrise. You can feel the heat of sunrise against your skin. Yeah, so I waited until the next time she changed the bedding. She walked away! Calm down, because you haven't proved anything yet. Calm down and wait. Encounter visits. Number 2, I dozed off and woke. Visit number 3. Time got all mixed up. Then 4, then the 5th time. Now, all of a sudden, I knew what was happening. My heart stopped. My breath stopped. I knew what was happening. Slow at first, crawling along my skin, warmer and warmer, the rising sun. In my room, I'd won. I caught up with time again. The sun, it was dawn. It was dawn for the world and for me. I could smell the dawn. Yeah, me without a face lying there, and the smell of the dew on the grass, and me without eyes, shading my eyes and seeing the sun coming up over the mountains back home, and the hills gone pink and lavender like the inside of a seashell. The sun warming my little piece of skin, and me seeing without eyes the town where I was born, and me without ears hearing the lowing of the cows waiting to be milked, and babies kicking in their cribs and rubbing their eyes with their fists. It's sunrise, and I've got it. And now I'll always know when it's sunrise, and they can't take that away from me. Thank you, God. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I may never have anything else, but I'll always have the dawn and the morning sunlight. A year went by fast. I was a busy guy, learned a lot, yeah. Could even tell my nurses apart. The day nurse always walked to the bed with 4 steps. She was always the same, but the night nurses seemed to change. One of them must have cried when she looked at me. I felt her tears wet on me. I like to think she was young and beautiful. But every night, summer and winter, week in and week out, month in and month out, every night, I was with you, Corinne. With you, darling. My arms around you. Yours around me. With you, Corinne.
Joe, my darling.
Close to you.
My dearest.
My arms around you.
My lover.
And yours around me.
Mine.
With you, Corinne.
Oh, Joe. Joe.
2 years went by after I discovered time. 3 years went by after I discovered time. The 4th year started awfully slow. One day I felt vibrations. Vibrations heavier and heavier, and then they stopped. I knew they were standing around the bed. After all these years, visitors. And all at once, crazy thoughts went through my head.
It may be your mother.
No!
Corinne?
No, not Corinne. Not Corinne standing by my bed. You can't see me, not this way. Not you, Corinne. Go away, go away, go away, go away, go away, go away. Then, a hand came to rest on my forehead. Man's hand.
Doctors?
Yes, maybe doctors come to examine me. Somebody was touching my nightshirt over my left breast. The cloth fell back against my chest again. It was heavy now, weighed down by something. Medal. They'd given me a medal. Me! A medal. Me! A medal! Me! The generals were here, around my bed. The generals. The big guys, the famous guys who still had arms and legs and could still see and talk and smell and taste. In my throat, I felt a tearing of something that used to be a voice. I was talking to them, and they couldn't hear me. I was saying, listen, big guys, I'm lying here like a side of beef, and for what?
War! We're going to war!
You know, somebody said that, so I went, but why? Why? Somebody just said...
Let's go out and fight for liberty.
Liberty? What kind of liberty? How much liberty? And whose idea of liberty? A guy says, come on, let's fight for liberty, and he can't show you liberty. If you're going to die for liberty, you've got to know in advance what liberty is, and whose idea of liberty they're talking about, and just how much of that liberty we're going to have. Maybe that's a bad way to think. The big guy says it's bad, and I heard him. In the schools, and the newspapers, and the legislatures, and the congresses. Oh, it's their business. They sound wonderful.
This ground is sanctified by blood.
They shall not have died in vain.
Oh, noble dead.
No, but I'm asking you, big guys, what did the dead say? Did any one of them ever come back and say...
I'm glad I'm dead because death is always better than dishonor.
Did they say...
I'm glad I died to make the world safe for democracy.
Nobody but the dead know whether all these things people talk about are worth dying for or not. And the dead can't talk. So the words about noble death and sacred blood and honor and such are all put into the dead lips by those that got no right to speak for the dead. I'm asking you, big guys, how did they feel about it just before they died? Did all those guys die thinking of democracy and freedom and liberty and honor? You know they didn't. They died crying in their minds like little kids. They died crying for the face of a friend. They died crying for the voice of a mother or father or wife or baby. They died moaning and crying for life. I know! I'm the nearest thing to a dead man on earth. But there's nothing bigger than life. What's noble about having your legs and arms blown off? What's noble about being blind and deaf and dumb? I'm dead, big guys! And I died for nothing, do you hear me? Nothing. Nothing. Do you hear me, big guys? But they didn't hear me. Just as you couldn't hear me, Karine, if you were standing next to me. All the generals heard was the blowing of the air and the tube in my throat. When I heard the vibrations of the footsteps that said they were going, I began to think. The vibrations. Up to now, I thought only of the vibrations coming to me. How about making my vibrations go to them? Footsteps on the floor is a kind of vibration. The tap of a telegraph key is another kind. I had it. When I was a kid, Bill Harper and me, we had a telegraph set. We used to telegraph to each other. Dot dash, dot dash, dot dash, dot. I remember the code. The Morse code. All I had to do to break through to the people outside was to lie in bed and dot dash to the nurse. I could give messages and receive messages. I raised my head from the pillow. I dropped it. Then I did it twice, quickly. That was it. With my head. Raise my head, let it fall on the pillow. The Morse code! SOS. Help. I tapped it out on the pillow with my head. SOS. All over the world, that meant help. SOS. Help! Help! Then the door of the room jarred open, and the nurse's footsteps came up to the bed. SOS. SOS. Over and over and over again. She was looking at me. I knew it. SOS! Help me! SOS! Help me! Oh, why can't you understand? SOS! Help me! SOS! Help me! SOS! SOS!
SOS! Help me! SOS! Help me! SOS!
My head full of it, tapping it out with my head over and over and over and over. Couldn't stop. Why won't they hear me? Why won't they understand? Why won't they hear me? Karine, why? No. There isn't any Karine. There isn't nothing. I've been talking in my head. There's nothing for me. Nothing. I don't know what day it is. I don't know what month it is. I don't know what year it is. I've been tapping for years and years and years, and nobody hears me. Nobody. 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 Someone's come into the room. Footsteps light. My regular day nurses are heavy. Who's this one? Start tapping now. What? What is this one doing? Opening the nightshirt. She's moving the tip of her finger against my skin. What? Oh. Trying something. I know. The letter M. I know. Shake my head, yes. I know, I understand! It's M. Wonderful M. Writing something else in my skin. E. Yeah, I got that. R. Yes. Another R, yes. Now what? Y. Nothing more. M. E. R. R. Y. Mary. Writing again. C. H. R-I-S-D-M-A-S.
Merry Christmas. Oh, Merry Christmas.
Yes, nurse.
Merry Christmas.
I understand.
Mr. and Mrs.
Nodding my head to tell you I understand. I can't say it to you so you can hear me, but in my heart I'm saying it.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, nurse.
Merry Christmas.
God bless you.
Merry Christmas.
Bells in my town. I'm hearing them in my head, nurse.
'Twas the night before Christmas, and all
Mother.
through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse.
Mother,
The
I hear
stockings
you.
were hung by the chimney with care, in hope that St. Nicholas soon would be there.
Christmas Eve.
He
I remember.
sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down from a thistle. But I heard him exclaim ere he drove out of sight, "Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night."
Merry Christmas, Mother. Merry Christmas, Mother. Nurse! New nurse! Smart nurse. She'll pay attention to me. Old nurse didn't understand. New nurse, you've got to understand! Tapping. I'll start. There, nurse. I did it. Do you understand it? 3 and 3 and 3. SOS. Do you understand it? I'll do it again. Morse code. You understand Morse code? Watch, nurse, watch. If I had a tongue, if I had a mouth, I'd tell it to you. I'd scream it at you, but I have nothing but the tapping in my head, so watch, nurse, watch. If you turn and walk out of the room and never come back, you'd be carrying my life with you. Your life and death to me, nurse. Look! I'll tap it again. C, S, O, S. Help me. SOS. Oh, I'll do it again. I'm praying now, nurse. Me, just an ordinary guy. I'm praying. Please, God, make her understand what I'm trying to tell her. Please, God, make her understand. I know you're a busy guy. I know there are millions of people praying to you every minute. I know all these things, God, and I don't blame you for getting behind in your orders. Nobody's perfect, but what I want is such a little thing. All I want you to do is to take a tiny little idea that's in my mind and put it in her mind. 2, maybe 3 feet away. That's all I want, God. Just a little idea that's in my mind and put it in her mind. It's such a little thing, God. It's such a little thing. She's going away. She's gone out of the room. No. Can't be true. Can't shove me down under the ground again, bury me deep again. No, I won't believe it. I won't start crying now. She'll come back. She's my life. She's my chance at life. She will come back. She will. Door. Brought someone with her. Man's finger on my head. What? Finger tapping on my head. Tapping out W, H. Tapping out the code on my head. A, T, W, A, H, T. What? D, O, Y, O, U. Y, O, U. U. A-N-T. W-A-N-T. What do you want? What do I want? What do I want? I want to get out! Let me out! That's all I want! I've been lying here for years and years in a room in a bed with a little covering of skin. Now I want out. I've got to get out. If I had legs, I could run away. I could get away. I could get out. I can get out into the open where there's air, where there's room, where I'm not in a hole and smothering. Inside me, I scream and holler and push and fight for room and air, for escape from the smothering, from the loneliness. Let me out of here and take me back into the world. No, I didn't tap that out. What I just said, I was only thinking. Won't say it to you waiting up there. No. Before I ask you up there, before I tap it out with my head, I got to think of just what I'm going to tell you. Maybe my last chance. I've got it. Listen. You up there. I'm tapping it out with my head. Let me out of here. Let me out of here. Let me out. I can earn my keep. I can do a job like anyone else. Take me out of here and build a glass case for me, so people can see me. Take me in my glass case to the beaches, to the county fairs, and the church bazaars, and the circuses, and the traveling carnivals. You do a wonderful business with me. I can pay you for the trouble. I've never seen nothing like me. I'm someone you can really holler about. I'm the dead man who's alive. The live man who's dead. I'm the man who made the world safe for democracy. Don't take me into the places where men work and make things. Take me there and say, boys, here's a cheap way to get by. Maybe times are bad and your salaries are low. Don't worry, boys, because you'll have your chance. There'll be another war along pretty soon, and then maybe you'll be lucky like me. Take me into the schoolhouses, all the schoolhouses in the world. They'll scream at first and have nightmares at night, but they'll get used to it because they've got to get used to it. And it's best to start them young. Take me into the colleges and the universities and academies and convents. Call the girls together, all the healthy, beautiful young girls. Point to me and say, girls, here's your father. Look, girls, here's your lover. Call all the young men together and say, here's your brother. Here's your best friend, and here are you, young men. Take me wherever there are parliaments and diets and congresses and chambers of statesmen. I want to be there when they talk about honor and justice and making the world safe. Put my glass upon the speaker's desk, and every time the gavel drops, let me feel its vibration through my little glass case. Then let them draft notes and ultimatums and protests and accusations. But before they vote on them, before they give the order for all the little guys to start killing each other, let the main guy rap his gavel on my case and point down at me and say, gentlemen, here's the only issue before this House, and that is, are you for this thing here, or are you against it? And if they are against it, then let them stand up like men and vote. And if they are for it, let they be hanged and drawn and quartered and paraded through the streets and thrown out into the fields where no clean animal will touch them. And may no green thing ever grow where they rot. Take me into your churches, your great towering cathedrals, which have to be rebuilt every 50 years because they are destroyed by war. Carry me in my glass box down the aisles where kings and priests and brides and children at their confirmations have gone so many times before to kiss a splinter of wood from a true cross on which was nailed the body of a man who was lucky enough to die. Set me high on your altars and call on God to look down upon his murderous little children, his dearly beloved little children, and then bring in the fierce ones, the spawners of hate, the inventors of slogans. Bring them in and make them look at me. And then dare them. Dare them to break the peace.
He felt the vibrations of heavy feet leaving the room. He was left alone to wonder. The man would return soon with an answer. Then the vibrations were coming toward him again. The man was returning with an answer.
Oh, great merciful God, thank you. Here is my return from the dead. Here is life vibrating against the floor, singing in my bed spring, singing like all the angels in heaven.
A finger began to tap against his forehead, and the answer broke Joe Bonham's spirit.
What you ask is against regulations. Who are you?
The tapping went on, but he paid no more attention to it. In one terrible moment, he saw the whole thing. They wanted only to forget him. He was upon their conscience, so they had abandoned him. They had forsaken him. They were the only people in the world who could help him. He was completely at their mercy, and they had no mercy. Why? Why? Why?
He was the future. He was a perfect picture of the future, and they were afraid to let anyone else see what the future was like. Already they were looking ahead. They were figuring the future, and they saw war. To fight that war, they would need men, and if the men saw the future, they wouldn't fight. So they were masking the future. They were keeping the future a soft, quiet, deadly secret. They knew that if all the little people, all the little guys saw the future, they would begin to ask questions. They would ask questions, and they would find answers, and they would say to the guys who wanted them to fight, they would say, "You lying, thieving sons of bitches, we won't fight." Remember it well. We are the world and what makes it go round. We make bread and cloth and guns. We are the hub of the wheel and the spokes and the wheel itself. Without us, you would be hungry, naked worms, and we will not die. We are the great, wonderful people of the world, and we are sick of it. We are utterly weary. We are done with it forever and ever, because we are the living, and we will not be destroyed.
It will not be us who die. It will be you.
It will be you, you who urge us on to battle, you who incite us against ourselves, you who would have one cobbler kill another cobbler, you who would have one man who works kill another man who works, you who would have one human being who wants only to live kill another human being who wants only to live. Remember this. Remember this well, you people who plan for war. Remember this, you patriots, you fierce ones, you spawners of hate, you inventors of slogans. Remember this as you have ever remembered anything else in your lives.
Give us the slogans, and we will turn them into realities. We will be alive, and we will walk and talk and eat and sing and laugh and feel and love and bear our children in tranquility and security and decency and peace. You plan the wars, you masters of men. Plan the wars and point the way, and we will point the gun.
I wrote my mother, I wrote my father, and now I'm writing you too. I'm sure of mother, I'm sure of father, now I wanna be sure of you.
Don't sit under the apple tree with anyone else but me. Anyone else but me. Anyone else but me. No, 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 just remember that I've been true to nobody else but you. So just be true to me. Now don't go walking down Lover's Lane with anyone else but me. Anyone else but me. Anyone else but me. No, 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 don't go throwing off all your charms. Somebody else's are. You must be true to me. I'm so afraid that the plans we made underneath those moonlit skies fade away, and you're bound to stray if the stars get in your eyes. So don't sit under the apple tree with anyone else but me. Anyone else but me. Anyone else but me. No, 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 don't sit under the apple tree with anyone else but me till I come marching home. All right. wasn't part of the script, but I have to say, I am so thrilled Kevin asked me and Michael to be a part of this. This has been one of the most exceptional evenings I have had the pleasure of participating in. I really mean it. Thank you. And now, as only they could write them, I'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places that this heart of mine embraces all day through. In that small cafe, the park across the way, the children's carousel, the chestnut tree, the wishing well. I'll be seeing you in every lovely summer's day, in everything that's bright and gay. I'll always think of you that way. I'll find you in the morning sun when the night is through. I'll be looking at the stars, but I'll be seeing you. I'll be seeing you in every lovely summer's day, in everything that's light and gay. I'll always think of you that way. I'll find you in the morning sun when the day is through. I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing you.
That was so wonderful. Thank you, and Michael, too. That was really terrific. So now we're going to enter into the second part of our evening, our conversation. And what I'll do to start with is I'm going to just give a quick introduction. I'll just name folks, and they will give themselves a little introduction, actually, and give you some context of where they're coming from. We are so lucky to have these people here. They're essentially our friends. And I've got a couple of new friends. Buzz is a new friend, and James is a new friend, and pretty much everybody else is an old friend, so that's a really lovely thing. So, and the purpose of the conversation, as I said, is let's learn and grow and converse and understand the issues that these vets face when they come home. How powerful was that Nico? Oh my goodness, right? He's unbelievable. Whew. So we'll be looking just with some experts here on the panel, looking at what the issues are that are faced by these young people when they come home, and also just to have some real thoughts and action plan, and what we can do as human beings on this earth to help that situation. So here's my first friend. This is a new friend. This is Buzz Eisenberg. So give us a little riff on you, Buzz.
Actually, hi. I'd like to just, I'm an opportunist, and since I have the opportunity to go first, I just want to read something for you. I want to first say Happy Mother's Day to everyone. Yeah, And I have here the first proclamation of Mother's Day, which was done 143 years ago. Francis Crowe, who knows everything, is nodding familiarity. It's 143 of them that we've had, anniversaries of this first proclamation. I'm not going to read it all because I don't have time. I'd like to read a little bit of it. It's by Julia Ward Howe. You know it too?
Yeah, I do.
And this is, and I'm going to just read parts of it. Arise then, women of this day. Arise, all women who have hearts, and say firmly, we will not have great questions decided by irrelevant agencies. Our husbands shall not come to us reeking from carnage for our caresses and our applause. Our sons shall not be taken from us to unlearn all that we have taught them of charity and mercy and patience. We women of one country will be too tender of those from another country to allow our sons to be trained to injure theirs. From the bosom of the devastated earth, a voice goes up with our own, and it says, disarm, disarm. The sword of murder is not the balance of justice. As men have often forsaken the plow and the anvil at the summons of war, let women now leave all that may be left of home for a great and earnest day of council. Let them meet first as women to bewail and commemorate the dead. Let them solemnly take counsel with each other as to the means whereby the great human family can live in peace. In the name of womanhood and of humanity, I earnestly ask that a general congress of women without limit of nationality be appointed and held at some place deemed most convenient at the earliest period, consistent with its objectives, to promote the alliance of the different nationalities, the amicable settlement of international questions, the great and general interests of peace. That's what Mother Day started as.
So not roses and candy in reflection of our Civil War. Yeah. So, and we have here tonight Lee Woodruff. Now, there's a little bit of a change. There are a couple of changes in the panel. Oh, by the way, I should say David Packman had a scheduling issue, so I'm being moderator. I hope I'm moderate. Bob is in India. He got a last-minute assignment, so he's off and running doing the beautiful, powerful things that he does. But we have his better half. You can't understand me, then I am going to seek clarity. We have Bob, who is in India, and he is not going to be with us tonight, but we have his way better half, way more than half. And her name is Lee, and this is Lee Woodruff.
Women hold up more than half the sky, right? Yeah. And in answer to Buzz's beautiful reading, I did not know that that was the genesis of Mother's Day. I often hear from mothers of veterans currently in the hospitals now, what mother would ever want to send her child to war? And I've heard more than one mother say, if we made the decisions, if we held the conch, if we had the power, we might hesitate and think and be a bit more thoughtful before we rushed into war. I'm Lee Woodruff. My husband, Bob, is a journalist, and he was in Iraq for the 8th time in his journalism career, just for a quick assignment when he was hit by a roadside bomb in 2006. He was severely injured. He should not be alive. He was very, very critically wounded, and half of his skull was removed in order to save his life. He had a traumatic brain injury. He was in a coma for 36 days, and he's had a miraculous recovery. Obviously, he's in India today. He's been there for 2 weeks. He should not be doing what he's doing. He should not be able to speak and talk and think. And for many of the veterans who are, as the play so aptly demonstrated for us, who are double and triple and yes, quadruple amputees. I have met 2 quadruple amputees from this war. If you're that close to an explosive device, you probably also have some form of a brain injury or cognitive dysfunction and so forth. So firsthand, I understand what it feels like to be part of a family. And you're next going to hear from my new friend, the Colonel, and we were talking a lot about really wars affect entire families. As Bob's brother said in the hospital, it wasn't just Bob who was hit by the bomb, it was all of us, because everybody becomes part of that continuum of injury. And I'll talk a little bit later about some of those 4 legs of the stool that we all use to get through. For me, they were the 4 Fs: family and friends and faith and funny, because sense of humor is a huge way we get through life. So I'm looking forward to sharing some of my observations as someone who's part of a foundation Bob and I started that helps veterans after the acute care, after the rehabilitation, when they come back and their benefits have run out and they're ready to retake the stage of their life. And to date, in 6 years, our foundation has given back $15 million to small grassroots groups around the country that are helping veterans reemploy, training, figure out how to prevent suicide, which is our #1 issue right now, deal with PTS, combat stress, deal with the caregiver, deal with the children who wonder why dad is different, why does he hit me now, all of the issues that affect an entire population when war happens.
We have here Hank Dietering, a Vietnam War vet and good friend.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting me to join you. Yes, ma'am. As you heard, my name's Hank Dietering. I'm a retired Marine Corps officer, also a retired high school principal. I hope tonight I can bring to this conversation a little understanding of the serviceman that we have today, how he's changed over the years, and the discussion is about what we can do for the many wounded veterans coming home. I hope I can lend some perspective to you as to what some of their needs are, and maybe some of the needs of their families. I might have a little different twist on it than a couple of the other members on the panel, but I think I'll be able to help you a little bit with that.
Beautiful. Thank you, Hank. And my pal, Andrea Avazian.
That's so cute. I'm Andrea Avazian. I am the pastor of the Haydenville Congregational Church outside of Northampton, United Church of Christ. I've been active in movements for social change since the late 1960s when I headed off to college in Ohio during the Vietnam War and was radicalized during those years, and have been active since. And the perspective I bring is to talk about the role of the wider community in welcoming home veterans and the role and the responsibility of the community. It's nice to see you all here.
Beautiful, Andrea, thanks. And this is Kathy Belanger, who just had a first grandbaby, which is why she was late. This is why she was late. It just happened. So, and Kathy Belanger is our next door neighbor. We've been next to Kathy for almost 30 years, not that we're counting. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Kathy. There you go.
Also, my daughter, who just had Jack Gregory, and Gregory is her brother who was killed in Iraq, used to babysit for her boys. So that's how close we are. You know, I think what I'm going to bring to the meeting is the perspective of being a Gold Star mother. It's not something that I signed up for. It's not something I ever gave thought to, and it's kind of thrust upon you when your child is killed due to a war. I will share with you the ups and downs and how I have managed to be able to come and sit and talk to a group of people like this and hopefully hold it together. When you lose a child to war, you kind of compartmentalize it. You just kind of tuck it away. But there's certain sounds, sayings, people, smells that bring it to the surface. Now, that very old-fashioned song that she sang, the last one, I was biting my tongue because I'm very sentimental, and I know that song. So we'll talk more later.
And this is my brand new friend. Yeah. This is Jim Monroe. He is a veteran, and I can't wait to learn more about Jim.
Thank you for inviting me, along with the others. I'm wearing a couple of hats. First of all, I was in the Marine Corps and served in Vietnam and got blown up and spent some time in the hospital. And so that's one hat I'm wearing. Another hat is that I'm a speaker with the Veterans Education Project, which is one of the groups sponsoring this evening, and I'm on the board. This is a group, an organization whose primary mission is to have veterans from World War II up to Afghanistan, starting with Vietnam vets, going into high school and college classrooms and simply telling our stories. And although we don't on the surface take any sort of a political stance, we're really a stealth organization, believing that if we tell the truth about what it's actually like, that the truth will do its own job. And my third hat is that I'm an Episcopal priest, and I was at a church in Northampton for a number of years, and now I'm at a church in Springfield.
Thank you so much. Great. So I thought we'd start it off with Lee, since this is her job, essentially, with the Bob and Lee Woodruff Foundation. And she really has devoted her life since this event with Bob to this very topic. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to say out loud that Lee's foundation is remind.org, and if we can make any money tonight, we're going to split it right down the middle with remind.org. And I think we did, because look how many of you there are. It's good. So Lee, do you want to start us off, sweetheart?
You know, I'm just curious. It's always so nice, I think, for all of us to understand our audience and know who's out there. How many, could you raise your hand if you know somebody who has served in these present wars in Iraq and Afghanistan? In the audience. Wow, and can you raise your hand if you have served? Thank you for your service, all of you. I mean, I think I'll sort of keep it short and sweet. I thought that, just to talk about the play for a tiny second, the concept of the glass box going around in the country to remind people what the real human cost is of war was so interesting. And one of the pictures that no one wanted anyone to see in this war were the planes that people like Bob were brought back on. In fact, what's the name of the wonderful local bookstore here that World Eye Books is here. Don't worry about, yes, buy the books so that you can support your independent bookstore. A cent doesn't go to me, but you're so lucky to still have an independent bookstore. So I always want to thank the folks that come out, and Amazon is terrific for blenders and vacuum cleaners and all that stuff, but not for books. Please buy your books there. So, but in that first book Bob and I wrote in an instant is a picture of the C-17s hollowed out with bodies on them. And I remember somebody saying that is not a picture that your government wants you to see right now. Well, we're relying on people in a all-volunteer army to sign up to go to war, because those aren't the images that promote heading to war. This is not a political issue. Don't think for a second it's a political issue. It doesn't matter what your politics are, whether or not you love Bush or hate Obama or believed we should go. We went, our country decided, and some very brave and incredible people raised their hand to go. And when they come back broken and injured and different, it is simply up to us as a country, a wonderful country, to take care of them. Hank and I were talking earlier, and General George Casey, who was the previous head of the U.S. Army, said once to me, our government does big things really well, but we do small things not so well. And that's where we are going to have to rely on the coalition of public and private dollars to heal our service members and their families when they return. There simply aren't enough dollars to be able to handle that. So before I hand the baton over, the big issues that from my perspective, and I love that we're each bringing our own perspective to this, you've probably all read in the papers that there have been more suicides than actual deaths in these wars. And so the chemical changes in the brain, not only from successive concussive effects, and we're all reading about NFL players and what happens, big surprise, right? You go slam your head against something for about 20 years, and ultimately you're gonna have some form of brain damage. But to be in 2 concussions even, where you're near a blast, obviously damages the brain. But we're learning so much more today than we did in Vietnam about the wounds of war, the invisible wounds of war, the adrenaline, just being crouched 24/7 on your base, waiting and hoping against hope that someone doesn't drive a vehicle through with a bomb, or a woman coming towards you who's got a bomb strapped on her, or in one case of a Gold Star mom that I spoke to, who handed me the picture of her son, which I still have in my office, that a 9-year-old boy walked toward them while they were on foot patrol with a bomb, wired by his father. And those images, those experiences, and certainly those who have served can speak more directly to that kind of trauma. But these are all levels of trauma and wounds of war. And we know much more now about healing them with many different kinds of methods, whether it's straight sort of cognitive therapy and talk therapy, but there are lots of holistic ways as well. Massage and EMT and all kinds of, acupuncture. There are many ways we can employ, and the VA is actually utilizing some of these methods to help heal the invisible interior wounds of war. Job training, huge issue. And I think the other really large issue in many ways right now for so many soldiers, and we were talking about that earlier too, is just the simple backlog in the VA in terms of trying to get through the paperwork and get attention to those who need it most. So from my perspective, I think those are some of the big issues we're dealing with.
As I understand the topic tonight, it's what can we do for the young men who are coming home.
You better hold it closer or Francis.
You're going to get in trouble.
Oh, I'm going to get, okay. Yes, ma'am.
She's nodding at you.
I want to tell you, I want to actually thank you for taking the first and what I would think is the most important step towards helping our wounded to come home. And that is, the country has changed. I came back from Vietnam, and nobody wanted to wear the uniform. Nobody wanted to admit who they were, because young men, and I'm talking about boys who were right out of high school, who went over and did what their country asked them to do, made them do in many cases because they didn't volunteer. A lot of them were drafted, or a lot of them joined because they were going to be drafted. They went off and they did what their country asked them to do, and they came home, and they personally were asked to account for all the things that people back at home didn't like about the government's decisions. It was a terrible burden to put on these young men. It wasn't fair, and they went off and they hid, and the country ignored them. Well, that's changed, and what I see today is wonderful. I see people going to airports to welcome servicemen coming home. I see people going out of their way to support families. My mother had jet black hair when I went to Vietnam. And I came home a year later, and her hair was absolutely gray. And I was partly responsible for that, but so were all the people that looked at my mother and wondered what was wrong with you that you would let your son do that. I volunteered. I wanted to do this. I felt the need to go support or serve my country. And in my mind and in her mind, in the tradition of our family, I did something honorable, and she was made to feel bad for it. That's changed. And that's probably the first step, is the fact that the whole attitude of the country is, it's not about the politics that we may or may not agree with. It's about these individuals, and they're getting a terrific amount of support. But what has to happen is that has to continue. We see wonderful shows on television about people who are amputees, double and single amputees, and wonderful things that are happening for them, and all these programs that we never had before that have been put in place. But for every wonderful story we see, there are way too many people who don't have that support system, who don't have the girlfriend who still loves them and wants to marry them, who aren't going to be able to walk like they used to. And we need to understand that, and we need to remember that, and we need to include them. The servicemen who serve today are all volunteers. If the play you saw tonight was written today, it would probably be written a little bit differently. Because when I talk to so many servicemen who have been wounded, and you ask them, what do they want to do? They want to go back. They want to be with their unit. The amputees want to serve. And the government has made changes to where we allow men who lost an arm or a leg to stay in the service and stay on active duty. It didn't used to be that way. Unfortunately, for all the people that we hear about that are going to get their wish, there are multiples of people who aren't going to get to go back, who aren't going to be able to find that job one, whose girlfriend is going to look at them and walk the other way. And what we have to do is remember these people and continue to support them. We've made the change, and I know that most of these people feel welcome. They're not ashamed. They don't hide. Young Marines go on leave now, and they take their dress blues and they go to church with their mom in their uniform, and they want people to see them because they get accepted. It's a good feeling, but we can't forget them. The feeling that we have now while these people are coming back has to continue, because there's so many people who are going to be resigned to a life, and I think of visiting veterans hospitals, which most were built, what, WPA? A lot of you went to high school in the WPA building. Not too many of your kids did. Most of the veterans hospitals are still that era. And there are way too many young men today who are going to spend the rest of their life in that hospital. We've done the first step. We've changed the way the country sees these people, and believe me, it's appreciated. But we can't forget them. And as time goes on, their needs are going to be greater, not less. And that's one of the things we have to focus on. And the government's not going to be able to do it by themselves. The money isn't there. I'm upset with some of the things the VA spends their money on, because they ought to be spending it on the guys who really need it. That's one of the small things government doesn't do well. But in truth, some of the wonderful programs that you see now, we need to continue to support. We need to remember that these people need help, and the thing they don't need from us is for us to judge them or try to tell them that, you know, feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for you. You never should have had to go. Remember, most of them went because they volunteered. They went and did what they were asked to do, what they wanted to do. Most of them would go back, and most of them are proud about what they did. And don't take that away from them. You don't have to agree with what they did, but please accept it. And don't forget them. That's my biggest fear, is that with time, it's going to be more and more going to slip away. And they might become what the Vietnam veterans became, and believe me, it was because those poor guys got back, and in the beginning, nobody even wanted to talk to them. They were just shunned. It's so nice that that doesn't happen today. Just, I would say, keep up the good work.
One of the things I do in Deerfield is I speak at Memorial Day. And prior to that, I set up a scholarship fund in memory of my son, Greg. And I asked the high school students that are graduating to write no less than a 2-page paper. What does freedom mean to you? I'm starting there first to get our younger generation to really stop and think. Not just about what the Webster Dictionary definition means. What does it mean to you? I get some very interesting papers. That's the first thing I do. At Memorial Day, I have learned over the last 10 years, I was guilty. I was guilty of going, oh, Memorial Day weekend, beginning of summer, until I was thrust into the shoes of being a Gold Star mother. I respected the servicemen and everything, but I really didn't until it hit home. I tried to educate my community that Memorial Day is to honor those that have paid for the ultimate sacrifice, and that they need to stop and also remember that the men and women that are sitting in the Memorial Day audience, they carry baggage with them that some of them have never been attended to, that coming out and celebrating and honoring their peers is very difficult every year for them, but they arise to the occasion. And that we also have young men and women that are now coming home that need our help. These are the ones with the post-traumatic stress disorder. I work at the Franklin County House of Correction, which is a jail in Greenfield. I have been horrified already to have some of our returning vets that have turned to crime and have been incarcerated. That should never happen if we were taking care of them correctly. So we do need to step up to the plate as a regular citizen and help these men and help these women.
We've been here over 80 minutes this evening, and that means that somewhere in the United States, a veteran has committed suicide once every 80 minutes in our country. I think the brilliance of the play is that Joe is utterly and completely trapped and can do nothing about it. And when Nico cried out, "I want out," I felt a cry of every veteran who's come back from combat. So when I came back, I chopped off my legs and my arms and my eyes and my ears in a spiritual sense, because it was safe to be there. That built some walls that I could hide behind to make sure that nothing ever happened to me again like happened in Vietnam. It was so awful that whatever else I did in my life, I would make sure that I wouldn't be vulnerable to that kind of pain again. But behind the walls, there was that cry, "I want out." And by the way, Nico is not just an actor. The energy for that came from some personal experiences of loved ones in Afghanistan. So the best wall of all to hide behind, the best arms and legs to be chopped off where you can be safe, tragically, is suicide. Once every 80 minutes in our country. But jail time, alcoholism, drug addiction, those are all walls behind which you can be safe and not vulnerable. And the only problem is that you're all alone behind those walls. And the wall that I picked to build, and it works out quite nicely if you're a minister, is a wall of being nice. So over all these years, I've learned to be unbelievably nice to lots of people and still be able to be all alone behind the wall of niceness. So that my work of healing from Vietnam is to take that scary risk of stepping outside the wall where it's dangerous because you get vulnerable to being hurt again. So somehow there's the work to be done.
I've now been enlisted. I guess, by the way, you guys were so moving, and applause, applause. Kevin, that was just, it grabbed me, and it twisted my heart. And I just want to, again, thank you for that. And like Jim, I was moved by particular parts of the play, not the least of which is Joe wishing to be put in a glass case and being brought to all the parliaments and congresses and chambers of justice, and let the decision makers look at him and let the fierce ones then decide. And notwithstanding my total agreement with Lee about this is not a time to be political and look at the politics of decisions that have been made, I want to make, I don't know why I'm on this panel. I'm honored to be on this panel. It might be because of my years of anti-war activism and representing Guantanamo detainees and being the president of the International Justice Network, which deals with victims of war. While I'm 110% behind everything that's been said and the initiatives, every initiative to help those that require our help as a result of their service in our armed forces, I don't want to forget the other victims of war. I couldn't get the numbers. I'd love to have the numbers. I think what they call impact deaths in Afghanistan and Pakistan since October 7th of 2001, they say 19,600. But if you look at the seriously wounded that have died, perhaps as a result, we don't know, we don't keep track of such things. It's as many as 350,000 people. According to Iraq body count, there's between 112,000 and 124,000 impact deaths, counting bodies in the morgue. There's another 700,000 that have been seriously wounded. We don't know, they might die of a heart attack, and we'll never know if it was a result of their wounds. So that's 900,000 out of a population of 31 million in Iraq. I just don't want to forget what war does. And while we're talking about the victims that came from here and went away from home and suffered these terrible injuries, imagine those who suffered these injuries when bombs rained on their homes and on their families. Imagine that PTSD of losing your child to a bomb that fell from the sky. Again, denigrating nobody, but like Lee said, they didn't raise their hand. They didn't volunteer. It was their homes that were bombed. And civilian casualties of war is as much a part of Johnny Got His Gun. Jim, their arms and legs, too, have been removed. And so I guess that's my contribution to this panel, to remember that war, remember what we learned in 3rd grade. War is bad.
There is very little to add after this panel has spoken so movingly and beautifully and from personal experience. There is very little to add. So I think I'm going to be quite brief. My colleagues have been quite incredible. I will say 2 things as a pastor. One thing is that in my church, we have veterans, men and women, and we have other people who are suffering from PTSD. And I find that when I counsel them and when I sit with them and when I work with them, it is as if the veterans and those suffering from PTSD are literally carrying a literal weight on their hearts and in their bodies. With their body language and their use of language and their affect and their everything about them, it's as if they are burdened, really profoundly burdened, that they have walked into my office or I've met them at their home, in their home, and they are carrying weight. I think grief and I think PTSD has a literal weight. And I think part of what we need to do as a community is move in close to them and help carry the weight. To help just move in close. Move in closer than you're supposed to as Yankees. Move in close to people and show up and talk to them and mainly listen. That's mainly what I do, is listen. I don't have great words of wisdom for them, but I actively listen and I help carry some weight, that I just move in and show up and go to their homes. And I think community is where the healing is held. I think isolation makes everything worse. And I think when a community holds and grieves and cries and shows up and carries the weight, we really have a chance at some good healing. And the last thing I'm just going to say is I'm going to speak very directly as a Christian. I know that not everybody here is a Christian. I know that not everybody here wants to hear a perspective as a Christian, but I'm a Christian. And I'm going to speak from that perspective for a minute. And I'm just going to say the one that I seek to follow, Jesus, was a nonviolent warrior. And the way he healed is he healed in community. He didn't do a ministry on a mountainside or in a cave alone. He did his entire ministry in community. And it's through community that he preached and taught and healed and traveled. And what he did is he never talked about curing. He only talked about healing. And the way he healed is he brought people from the margins who had been left out or ignored or disempowered or considered other and awful, and he brought them back into community, and that's how he healed. He restored their place in community. That's how he healed. And he never said, I have done this for you. He said, your faith has made you well. Your confidence, your faith, what I was able to draw out of you has healed you. And I think we can all do that. I think we can move in close and restore people's place in community. And I think community at its best is healing and is powerful. And so that's what I bring tonight.
If we're here tonight to talk about what can you do, and that was a wonderful segue to the question I get asked all the time. Veteran families are among us all, and it's not something you're ever going to be able to get the name from the VA. The DoD will not release the names of the injured. So it's up to you to go to your pastors, to find out through the churches or through the families, who are the families among us that need help. And help comes in so many different ways. Help is a dinner brought over. Help is a movie certificate, and you come sit by the bedside so that mother can go out for a night and step away and get a break. Help comes in the form of dollars. I mean, there are many wonderful places, and the more you can go local and give to the local community to help, I think the better. There are more than 40,000 veteran organizations that are claiming right now to be 501c3s and to be helping veterans of these wars. So be careful, look closely, do your homework, and look at the financials, because many of them are not giving as much as they possibly can to go directly to a vet. But it is local, and it does start there, and it doesn't have to be a giant act of being able to heal somebody. Merely acknowledging, merely understanding, and empathizing, not sympathizing. These are proud, incredible families. They don't want your sympathy, and they don't want your assistance. They want your gratitude, and they want your, understanding. So thank you for being one of those communities that would turn out in these great numbers to care about this cause.
That's it. Thanks, everybody. This was a great, powerful night.